How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Zayin, Daf 37 of Masechta BavaKama. Friends. Do do boo do do boo boo do. Ta da da da. Okay. Here's the deal. Here's the deal with Daf Lamed Zayin of Masechta BavaKama. The first Amud is really hard. At least it was for me. The second Amud, until the next Mishnah, is not hard. And then, I think what I would like to do is I'd like to start the next Mishnah and get to the top of Lamed Ches Amud Aleph. I think that is what I would like to do. So let's see how it goes. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous for Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph. I'm a little bit nervous. But, okay, no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. Let's go weiter. So we can start in Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph at the Mishnah. Okay, you ready? About 5-6 lines into the page. A little more. Shoshu muad lemino ve'no muad l'she'eno mino. Okay. So an ox that is muad for oxen, but not for donkeys. Muad la'adam ve'no muad l'behema. The Gemara is going to get, this is like mamish the discussion over what exactly does it mean for this, for not for that. It's a whole thing. La'adam ve'no muad l'behema. So an ox that is muad to gore the people, but not to gore other animals. Alright. Animals. Muad l'ktanim ve'no muad l'gdolim. Only muad for little things, it doesn't really like to pick on things its own size. It likes to go for the easy stuff. Alright. Again, we're going to have to figure out what it means for this, but not for that. As shumuad lo, so whatever it's muad for, so mishalim nezek shalim. So if it's muad, so it's nezek shalim. V'sheinu muad lo, and for what it's not muad, so then mishalim chatzi nezek, then it would be chatzi nezek. Okay, fine. Right, it's a short time. It's chatzi nezek. Amru l'fnei Rabbi Yehuda. They said for Rabbi Yehuda, harei muad l'shabosos ve'nu muad l'chol. What happens in a scenario if you have an ox that's muad only to gore on Shabbos? It gores 3 Shabbos in a row. Never during the week, but on Shabbos it gets inspired and it starts goring. So Rabbi Yehuda says to the people, so if it has this thing where it gores only on Shabbos, so if it gores on Shabbos, once it's established a habit of 3 Shabbos in a row, so then, although I think the Gemara is going to discuss, maybe not. Oh no. Okay, so once it establishes, I guess, 3 Shabbos in a row, so then it becomes a muad for Shabbos, but not for weekdays. So for Shabbos it's nezek shalim, for the weekdays it's chatzi nezek. Emosa yutam mishachas bo gimel yimei Shabbosos, and then it becomes a tam again. It reverts to being a tam if 3 Shabbos in a row it sees an ox or sees whatever it's muad for and refrains, so then it reverts to being a tam. Okay, now here's the big machloikes that's going to take us to the bottom of the Amud and may or may not drive us crazy. I don't think it'll drive us crazy. It's not Yavamis, but it's could be Bava Yavamis. But anyways, you ready, friends? You ready for the machlekes? Here we go. Itmar was stated, Rav Zvid Omar ve'eino muad tnan, Rav Papa Omar eino muad tnan. I'll tell you, Kal v'chomer kind of stuff, that's the hard stuff. I don't know that I ever in the past really appreciated the complexity of a Kal v'chomer. Kal v'chomer is always, my 4th grade teacher would always give the classic example, if I can lift 100 pounds, I can definitely lift 50 pounds. That's a Kal v'chomer. It seems pretty innocent. But once you really get into the weeds, Kal v'chomers, man, they could really turn your brain to mush. They could really turn your brain to mush. Maybe that's a good name for an applesauce company. Kal v'chomer. It'll be an inside joke. Only we would get it. Nobody else would get it, but we would. And in case you didn't get it, the apple mush, the kal v'chomer turns your brain to mush. Okay. I'm stalling, Chaver. I'm stalling. Well, Shirley, you don't have a choice. You're going to have to go weiter, so you may as well go weiter. Alright, here we go. Let's start over. Itmar. Rav Zvid Omar Vi. I'm stalling. Alright, let's do it. Power through it. Let's go. Okay, Itmar. Rav Zvid Omar Vi. Alright, let's do it. Okay. I don't know if it, but I just feel like I gotta break through. I gotta just jump in, and once a minute, I'll be in it. So just do it. Rav Zvid, okay, so what's Rav Zvid saying? Rav Zvid is saying ve'eno muad. So it means that if it proves itself that it's not muad for other animals like a donkey. Whew, that wasn't so bad. So meaning, okay, so what Rav Zvid is saying is that if an ox is muad to gore other oxen, so by default, it is also muad to gore other animals, like a donkey or a camel, for example, unless it has proven itself that it doesn't gore donkeys or camels. Let's just use donkeys, for example, as another behemoth, okay? So it doesn't gore donkeys, meaning, so if an ox has gored an ox 3 times, so it's obviously muad for oxen, but by default it would also be muad for donkeys. But if it sees a donkey 3 times and doesn't express any interest in goring that donkey, right? 3 times it sees a donkey, does not gore the donkey, so then it's proven itself that it is a shortam vis-a-vis donkeys. Okay, so again, so Itmar of Zvid Amr says of Zvid ve'eno muad, and it is not muad, meaning by default it is muad, right? So if it's a muad for oxen, by default it's muad for donkeys also. Ve'eno muad, unless it kind of proves itself, displays that it does not gore donkeys. Rav Papa Amar Eino Muad Tanan. Whereas Rav Papa says no, Eino Muad, meaning Muad l'shvarim, right? Eino Muad for donkeys, l'behema. Right? So Rav Papa says fakert. He says that if a ox is muad to gore other oxen, so then by default it is not muad to gore donkeys. That's machlekes, the default. Okay, Rav Zvid says that an ox that is muad for oxen, by default it is also muad for donkeys, unless it displays otherwise. Rav Papa says fakert that an ox that is muad for oxen, by default is not muad for donkeys. So again, Itmar Zvid Amr says of Zvid ve'eno muad tanan, and it is not muad, meaning by default it is muad for donkeys. Rav Papa Amr eno muad tanan, whereas Rav Papa says it is not muad for donkeys. By default it is not muad for donkeys. Rav Zvid Amr ve'eno muad tanan hastama ve'muad. Rav Zvid says that is ve'eno muad, but by default it would be muad for donkeys as well. Rav Papa Amr eno muad tanan distama lo avi muad. Whereas Rav Papa says that if it's muad for oxen, eno muad for behema, meaning by default it is not muad for other animals. Okay, fine. Where am I? Sorry, I just took off my watch. So Sama Avimur, Papa Omar. And Watan Tistama Lo Avimur. Rav Zvid diak mi sefer, Papa diak mi reisha. So Rav Zvid makes his diuk from the sefer, right? Yeah, from the sefer, from the last clause in the Mishnah by the Ketanim and the Gedolim, whereas Rav Papa makes his diuk from the reisha from Adam and Behema. Fine. Rav Zvid diak mi sefer. So Rav Zvid's diuk comes from the sefer, the Katani, that it says Muad liktanim ve'eno muad ligdolim. So the Mishnah says that if you have an ox that is muad for little ones, it is so we're saying so if we understand it like Rav Zvid, who we're kind of analyzing right now, we're going to go into the details in a second. But we have to understand it one way for now. Let's just say like Rav Zvid, that by default it would also be muad for gedolim. Unless it proves itself otherwise. So katani So if you say like Rav Zvid that by default it is also muad, okay, unless it shows itself proves itself otherwise. So if you say like Rav Zvid, so if it's muad for oxen, by default, it's also muad for donkeys. And then the Mishnah goes further and says that if it's muad for, let's say, small oxen, for calves, okay, so meaning if it's only muad with regard to calves, by default, it's also muad with regard to bulls. So afilu miktanim ligdolim nami, that even if it has a tendency to gore calves, so then by default also it is have a muad. Where am I? Ligdolim nami mistama have a muad. Then it's saying that also that by default it is muad for doubles. Okay. But if you say that it is not muad, okay, so if you say like a papa that if it's muad for oxen, it is not muad for donkeys, okay, by default, right? The stomach law of a muad. So hashta yesh lomar. So then I don't understand. Miktanim liktanim de alma, that if we had already said, right, according to our papa, we'd already said that from that an ox that is muad for oxen by default is not muad for donkeys, which means that an ox that is muad for calves by default is not muad with regard to other small little animals, right? It's only going to gore small little calves. It's not going to gore small little donkeys, right? That's what Papa is saying, right? It's only muad for cows, for oxen. It's not muad for other animals. So again, so that would apply also to small animals, right? So if it is muad to small oxen, to calves, it's not muad to small donkeys. So hashta. So where am I? So in a muad katani stama lo ave muad. Okay. So hashta yishom miktanim de alma stama lo have muad. Miktanim ligdolim tzricha lemeimar de lo have muad. So do we even need the Mishnah to tell us that from that this that it is not muad for gedolim, meaning it's the concept of picking on someone your own size, right? Meaning if this is an ox that doesn't like to pick on things their own size, right? He likes to take advantage of the little guy. So if you have an ox who 3 times he sees a little calf and he says, I'm gonna, he acts violently towards that calf. And we say, okay, but it's only towards little calves, but we don't assume that it'll act violently towards little donkeys. well then, certainly, if it's limited to little calves and not to little donkeys, certainly it's limited to little calves and not to big bulls. That would be crazy. Right? So we're saying that this guy is so limited that it's only little calves, not little donkeys. Well, it must also be so limited that it's that it's only little calves, and he's not going to go after the bulls. And therefore, do you even need to say that? It's so obvious that if he's not muad, that the muad for the calves would be limited to calves and not the bulls. Okay, fine. So that is the kasha on Rav Papa. That Rav Papa, if we're talking about that, that the muad is only for what it's muad for, but by default anything else would not be muad. So then why do we need to mention the thing about the bulls? That should be obvious. Rav Papa says it's not so obvious because it's to sagadate chamina hol ufaratz be baumina paratz be loshna gedolim velo didei veloshna katan didei kamash malon to love imud. We can read that again in a second. But Rav Papa says actually it's not so obvious. It's not so obvious. I might think that okay, so we're saying that if it is muad for little calves, it is not muad for little donkeys, but I might think that it's not a size thing. Size isn't the point, it's the species that's the point. That if it's muad for little calves, so sure, it's not muad for little donkeys, but I might have thought that it is muad for all sorts of cow species, whether little, whether big. So kamash malan, that no, it's only muad for little calves, it's not muad for bulls. Alright. Wait, what? Yeah, exactly. It's, according to Rav Papa. So let's do that again, right? So Rav Papa Amalach, Rav Papa will say to Itzrich, I do need the Mishnah to teach me that the muad is limited to calves and not to bulls, because Sakadati Chamina, I may have taught to say Holu Faretz Be Baumina parts, but that once already it kind of broke the ice with cows, whether big or small. Loshna gedolim tidei, loshna katanim tidei. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. It's going to be muad. So kamash malon. So says Rav Papa. So Rav Papa says the Mishnah is therefore teaching us that that's not the case. The law of a muad, that it is not muad for the big ones, only for the little ones. Okay, fine. So that was Rav Zvid trying to make his proof. I'm trying to ask a kasha and Rav Papa from the big ones and the little ones. Rav Papa diek mireisha. Rav Papa tries to make his argument from the reisha, from where it says muad la'adam lo ave muad lebehema. The katani that it says muad la'adam eno muad lebehema. That if it's muad la'adam, it is not muad lebehema. So now. So we want to. So the Gemara says it makes sense if we explain like Rav Papa that muad la'adam is not muad lebehema. That if an animal gores people, well, by default it does not gore the animals. Okay, so distama lo ave mu. What is that? There noise going on outside? I don't really know. I'm wearing my noise canceling headphones, so I don't hear it so much. My father mentioned that there were sirens maybe in Yerushalayim or something. I said I didn't hear them. I said maybe I was recording Babylon Talmud. Maybe with my noise canceling headphones I didn't hear it. But so now I'm like a little sensitive. But which would you prefer? Would you prefer that I hear the siren, but then I'll also hear other things, which means I'll get distracted, which would be annoying for you? Or would you prefer that I use noise-canceling headphones, which means that I don't get distracted, which makes your listening experience better, but puts me at risk? Which should I do? All right. Now, so it makes sense if we say like Rav Papa that Eino Muad. I'm probably repeating myself. Distame lo ave muad, that by default it is not muad, right? Meaning it's only muad for animals. It is not muad for fakir. It's muad for people. It is not muad to gore animals. So Kamashmon is teaching us that afilu me odom lebehema nami stama lo ave muad. So it's a chiddush. Right? It's teaching me that even though this animal is so crazy that it gores even people, still, it's limited to goring people. It doesn't gore other animals. It's not going to gore a donkey. But if you're going to say like Rav Zvid, that by default, if it's muad for people, so then it's also muad for donkeys. So hastam have a muad. So by default it's muad for donkeys. Hashta yesh lomar. So now I can say mi behema lebehema stoma have a muad. Well, if we already know from the Reisha that if it's muad for oxen, it's muad for donkeys. Right, so meaning right. So so once already it is shown that it's muad for oxen, we can extend that also to other animals. Well, then me adam levema tzrich lememar. Do I even need to say that if this animal is so crazy that it will even gore human beings, that by default it would also gore animals? That right. That seems kind of obvious. Right, so tzrich lememar dave muad. Do I have to say that? Obviously, it would be muad. Rav Zvid Amar Lach Reisha Achazar Koi. So Rav Zvid says, well, no. What the chiddush of Adam and Behema, the chiddush is Chazar, meaning yes, by default, if the ox gores is muad for goring people, yes, of course, by default, it would also be muad for goring donkeys, right? That we're saying, yeah, that's obvious. But what's not as obvious is what about if then the ox has seen donkeys 3 times and refrained from goring? So the question is, can you now have a scenario where it's muad la'adam and not muad lebehema? Right, kigon, to have a muad la'adam umuad lebehema. It was muad for goring people as well as for animals. V'hadur be mi behema, and then it saw donkeys 3 times and did not gore. Dekoi be gabi behema tlos zimne v'lo nagach. Exactly, they went to animals 3 times and did not gore. So ma'adetema, I may have thought to say, kevin delo hadu be me adam chazar de behema lav chazarahi. So I may have thought that since it is still muad with regard to human beings, so therefore it is also still a muad with regard to behema. Kamash malan de chazar de behema mia chazarahi. So what Rav Zvid says that the Mishnah is teaching is that, right, ve'eino muad lebehema kilu, if it showed that right, if it saw a donkey 3 times and did not gore, so it showed that it does not gore donkeys. So we could say that even though it is still muad with regard to Adam, nonetheless it will not be a muad with regard to donkeys, and that is the chiddush according to Rav Zvid. Meisvei. Now the Gemara asks a kasha on Rav Zvid. Sumchis, it says sumchis muad la'adam muad lebehema. That if an animal is muad la'adam, so then by default it is also muad lebehema. Mikavachomer, from the following kavachomer, la'adam muad leveim lo kol shekin. If an animal will gore a human being, certainly it will gore another animal. Mechad Tanakama, eino muad ka'amar, implying that, well, if Sumchus is arguing on the Rabbanon, and when he says his opinion, so what's the opinion of the rabbis? The opinion of the rabbis must be that if it's muad la'adam, it is not by default muad lebehema, and therefore it's like Rav Papa. So Amalach of Zvid, Zvid will say to you, Sumchis achazara koi, no, that Sumchus is talking about specifically Chazara, V'achi ka'amar le, the Tanakam, this is what he's saying to the Tanakam, the ka'amar Chazara, the behema, Chazara when you say that the Chazara of a behema is Chazara, right, that if it's muad the Adam and muad the behema, so the Chacham are saying that, but if the ox sees a donkey 3 times and does not gore, so then it's no longer muad the behema, right? So the ka'amar Chazara the behema Chazari, Chazara the behema lav Chazara he, Sumchus argues and says, no, the chazara of the behema would not be considered chazara mikavachomer, from kavachomer me'adam lo kamahader be behema lo kol shekin. Right, that if the ox has not been choser from adam, certainly it has not been choser from behema. Fine. Right, and it will still gore animals. Omar, donkey. Omar of Ashi says of Ashi Tashma Kamanir. Omar lefnei Rabbi Yehuda. They said before Rabbi Yehuda, Harei zamud l'shabasos ve'eno muad limos hachol. So Rabbi Yehuda's students asked him that if you have an animal that seems to only be goring on Shabbos, it's gorged 3 Shabbos in a row. But so the question is, what is the halacha in turn? Right? Is it muad? What's the status regard to the weekdays? Amrullah and Rabbi Yehuda says to them, he answers the Shabbosos mishalem nezek shalom mosachol mishalem chatzi nezek. Yeah, for Shabbos it would be chatzi nezek, but if it goes to nu, it could be nezek fakert. If the animal goes on Shabbos, it would be nezek shalim because it's a muad. But if it goes on, it could be chatzi nezek. Yomad b'shlama ve'eno muad katani. So I understand if you say like Rav Zvid that by default it is also muad for during the week, unless it proves itself otherwise. Shayulei who to come mishadele. So the Taka asking the question, right? What is the halacha with regard to this scenario? And he's answering to them. And he's answering them, well, it would not be muad. Right, so he answers them, right, as long as the animal has indicated that during the week it does not gore, so then it would be on Shabbos nezek shalom, and during the week chatzi nezek. Eli omart eino muad katani, but if it's like Rav Papu says eino muad, that if it's muad l'shabbosos eino muad limosachol. So Agmuri who become megamrile, what are they teaching him the halacha? Or are they just simply saying that if it's muad for Shabbos, it's not muad for during the week? V'su iu ma'ika mahadalu, and what's he answering them? So Omer Reb Yanim Reisha Nami Deka says Yanim, we can also infer from the Reisha the Katoni that it says Es Shemuad Lo Mishalem Nezek Shalom Ves She'eno Muad Lo Mishalem Chatzi Nezek. Then it says in the scenarios where it is muad, it would be Nezek Shalom. In the scenarios where it is not muad, it would be Chatzi Nezek. Yomot B'Shlomo V'eno Muad Katoni. If you say V'eno Muad, meaning by default it is muad unless it proves itself otherwise. So Parusha Kamer Farishla. So it's explaining, right? So by default, if it's muad for one thing, it's muad for the other thing, unless it proves itself otherwise. So then in the scenarios where it's muad, it's going to be Nezek Shalim. In the scenarios where it's not muad, it will be Chatzi Nezek. Ali Omat Eino Muad Katani. If you say Eino Muad like Rav Papa, so then Pascha. So if that's the case, so then simply saying, okay, it's muad for what it's muad for, and everything else it's not muad. So my su'es shamuad lo mishalim nezek shalim v'eshenu muad lo mishalim chatzi nezek. So then what's it teaching us? That and whatever it's muad pays nezek shalim, whatever it's not muad pays chatzi nezek. Arashte lo ashmu'inon tatam mishalim chatzi nezek muad mishalim nezek shalim. Don't we already know? We already know from the very beginning that tam is going to be chatzi nezek, muad is going to be nezek shalim. So what's it teaching us? That right, that a muad is nezek shalim and a tam is chatzi nezek. If it's like Rav Zvid, that by default, right, there's like a chiddush over here, right? That by default, if it's muad for one thing, it's muad for the other things, unless it proves otherwise. And then once it proves otherwise, we then treat it as a tam, and there would be chatzi nezek, and it would be a different payment. But if you're simply like saying like a papa, that whatever it's muad for, it's muad for. Whatever it's not muad for, it's considered a tam. So okay, I know that whatever muad would be okay. Muad is nezek shalom, tam is chatzi nezek. So what's the chiddush? V'imtim tzelomar nami isa der papa. Now, and if you do still want to maintain that the halacha is like Rav Papa, that muad for oxen is not muad for donkeys, for example. But nogach shor chamor v'gama. But if it gored a range of animals like an ox and then a donkey and then a camel, so nice and muad lakol. Well, then it's indicated that it'll just gore any animals, and at that point it'll be muad for all animals. Okay, that was the hard part of the daf. Do you agree that was hard? It was pretty hard, right? The rest I think should go pretty quick. Okay, Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught Ra shor nogach, shor lo nogach, shor nogach, shor lo nogach, shor nogach, shor lo nogach. Naisimu the sirug and the shvarim. Okay, so if an ox sees another ox and it gores, then it sees another ox, it doesn't gore. It sees another ox, it gores. It sees another ox, it doesn't gore. It sees another ox, it gores. It sees another ox, it doesn't gore. You get the pattern? One yes, one no. One yes, one no. So it be'etzim becomes a muad in that pattern, right? So if it sees the next animal and gores, well then it'll be nezek shalim. If it then sees another, if it then sees another ox and gores, so then, meaning if it saw two oxen in a row and gored, so then the second ox that it gores will be chatzi nezek because that's outside of the pattern. Okay. Tana Rabban, Shor nogach, chomer lo nogach, sus nogach, gomer lo nogach, pered nogach, or lo nogach. Naisemur the serugin lakol. Right. So if it sees a ox and it gored, it saw a donkey, didn't gore. It saw a horse and it gored. It saw a camel, didn't gore. It saw a mule and it gored. It saw a wild donkey and it didn't gore. So it indicates, right? So naisemur the serugin lakol. It indicates that it doesn't care what the animal is. It only cares about the pattern. Okay, meaning whereas in the first one it was only for, right? It was only an alternative pattern specifically in the context of oxen. But in this second case, it's an alternative pattern for all animals. Ibaidu they ask the kasha. Nogach shor v'shor chomer v'gamel. 3 oxen in a row followed by a chomer and a gamel. The question is, that third ox, is it the third of the set of 3 oxen or the first of the shor chomer gamel? So now, do we say hi shor basra basra shvarim shadinan lei vakati the shvarim udiyid lemidi achrina lo yid? So is it only a muad for shvarim? O dilma hi shor basra basar chomer v'gamel shadinan lei v'yid lei lechulu mine. Or is the shore with the chomer and the gamel, in which case it becomes a muad for all things. However, by the way, it's going to end with a teku, so just do it that what you want. Chomer v'gamel shor v'shor. So again, I shor kama, the first shore from the set. Basar chomer v'gamel shadinan lei v'yid lei lechulu mine. Odima basar shvarim shadinan lei v'akati the shvarim udiyid l'mina achrina lo yid. Right. So again, is the ox grouped with the other oxen, in which case it's muad only for oxen, or is it grouped with the camel and the donkey, in which case it's muad for all things? Shabbos, v'Shabbos, echad b'Shabbos, v'sheni b'Shabbos. Ma'u, ha-Shabbos basraisa, basu Shabbos u'dishadin alei, v'akati, the Shabbos u'diyoid, l'mosachol lo yoid, o dilma, basar echad b'Shabbos v'sheni b'Shabbos shadin lei v'yayid lei l'chulu yomei. Right? So if it's 3 Shabbos in a row, and the third Shabbos is followed by Sunday and Monday. So the question is that third Shabbos grouped together with the other Shabbos, in which case it's muad for Shabbos, or is grouped together with the Sunday and the Monday, in which case it's muad for all days of the week. Hey b'Shabbos, v'erev Shabbos, v'Shabbos, Shabbos v'Shabbos, mao. Ha Shabbos kamaisa, basur hey b'Shabbos v'erev Shabbos shadin levi yayid l'chulu yomei. O dilma ha Shabbos kamaisa, basur Shabbos sudi shadin lei v'Shabbos sudi yayid take. We say chveis nicht. Okay. All right. So in that case, Shabbos came after Thursday and Friday. So again, is it group with Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, or Shabbos, Shabbos, Shabbos? And we say chveis nicht. Nogach shor yom tes vav b'chodesh zev, yom tes zayin b'chodesh zev, yom yud zayin b'chodesh zev. So what if an ox saw another ox on the 15th of this month, and then it went a whole month without goring, and then on the 16th of the next month, it gored another ox, then went a whole another month, and then on the 17th of the next month, it gored another ox. You see the pattern? What do you think is going to happen on the next month, on the 18th? Basically, right, it seems like a pattern is emerging. So, Plukta de Rav Shmuel, it's Machlokes Rav Shmuel de Itmar, that it was said, Rasa Yom Tezvav b'chodesh zev, Yom Tez Zayin b'chodesh zev, Yom Yud Zayin b'chodesh zev. That with Nida, if a woman sees Dam Nida on the 15th of one month, and then the 16th of the next month, and the 17th of the following month. So, Rav Amar Kavala Veses, Ushmul Amar Ad Shetishalish B'diluk. So Rav says, okay, those 3 months are enough to establish a pattern that comes the 18th of the next month. So then there's nafkaminas in terms of any tyrus there, right, that you may have seen, if it's going to be considered tamei. Right? So Rav says that the fact that she's seen 15th and then the 16th of the next month, 17th of the next month is enough to already establish a pattern. Shmuel says that you need, the first month it isn't yet a pattern, right? The pattern really starts once, right, on the 17th of the next month, and then if you have the 18th of the next month. Wait, what? No, on the 16th, I'm sorry, the 15th wasn't necessarily, right, that was only the first one. Once she then sees on the 16th, that is when, of the next month, that's when the pattern kind of starts, followed by the 17th of the month after that, and the 18th of the month after that. Only at that point, after the 4th month, is when the pattern is really established. So therefore, the same thing would be over here as well, that, if this ox gored on the 15th of this month, the 16th of the next month, etc., so it would be that same machlokas. Rava says, Rava, Shama kol shofar v'nogach, kol shofar v'nogach, kol shofar v'nogach. If a ox heard the sound of a shofar and gored, the next time it hears the sounds of a shofar, it gores. The next time it hears the sound of a shofar, it gores. Now I say muad the shofar, so it becomes a muad for hearing shofars. Pshita, that's obvious. Ma'aditema may have thought shofar kama siyuta ba'amu dinakte kamashman. I may have thought that first time that it heard the shofar, it just went. It was a fluke, right? It says Rashi biasusa shenivas mikol shofar. That first time, maybe it just got scared of the shofar. That's all it was. Kamashman. Then no, it's actually part of this. It could be considered the first of the pattern. Friends, that was Daf Lamed Zayin and Masechta BavaKama. Woo! It was an interesting daf, Lamaisa. I mean, it's an interesting concept, right? If it's muad for one thing, is it considered a muad for something else? So if Zvid says that by default, if it's muad for oxen, it's also muad for donkeys, for example. But Rav Papa says that no, it's only muad for what it's muad for, and not for the other things. So that was super interesting machlokas, friends. That was Daf Lamed Zayin of Masechta BavaKama. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.